Butterfly in the sky. Wait, I was trying to do the Reading Rainbow theme and then realized I only knew the very first line. Hey, welcome to LiteraryAF podcast.
I can't help with that one. I don't remember it either.
Well, my name is Sheldon.
I'm Danny.
And we're here today to talk about books.
Mm-hmm.
And to fail at singing songs regarding books.
Yeah.
The two goals of the podcast.
Reading Rainbow.
Yeah, I think it's Butterfly in the Sky. You can go twice as high. Take a look. It's in a book on Reading Rainbow.
Yeah, we got this.
Yeah, it's like spoken word, though, because if we sing it, we'll get flagged for copyright again. All right, well, Danny, what are we talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about the third and final book in the Endgame trilogy by Skye Warren.
So, this is the series you've been doing for the last couple weeks.
I've been working on this one for a couple weeks, and it is the series that follows Avery. Yeah. I remembered this time.
Yeah, the unnamed,
she has a name, but it's a first-person...
The rarely named protagonist.
First-person book, so I can never remember her name when I want to.
And then, not to get ahead of ourselves, but you love this one, correct?
Right. We'll get into that.
I'm so excited.
We'll get into it.
Okay, well, let's start from... Oh, wait, let's do just like a very, very quick recap.
Okay.
What's happened in the series so far?
What's happened in the series so far is Avery's father was like a super rich guy in the...
Not New Orleans.
No, it's high society. It's Thorn something. Thornwood. Either way, it's like a rich area of town. And he basically loses all of his money when he gets sent to court for fraud and stuff like that.
Okay.
And she basically loses everything. He gets jumped by some guys in an alley, and he gets severely hurt, and he ends up going to, like, the hospital. And she can't afford to take care of him. She's selling all their stuff. All they basically have left is, like, this big empty house. And what she ends up doing is she goes to a guy named Damon Scott, and she auctions off her virginity.
Yep.
And her virginity is bought by one of Damon Scott's henchmen named Gabriel Miller. And that's like the first book, is she gets bought by Gabriel Miller, and then she goes to his apartment, and then they have sex after, like, the whole book. They have sex at the end of the book.
Yeah.
And then he's like a huge dick to her. And then the book ends. And then book 2 picks up where her house is being foreclosed by Gabriel Miller's company.
Okay.
And she's going to lose the house. And the way she tries to get the house back is by taking the $1 million that she got from her virginity auction.
And putting up his very first bid.
First bid on the house, which is being foreclosed and auctioned off. First bid, she goes $1 million. And everybody's like, oh, you're too rich for my blood, even though they're in this super rich, high-class neighborhood. And it's like a mansion.
Yeah.
$1 million is too rich for their blood. But because she put all of her money up for the auction in the first bet, like, one other guy is like $1,000,001, and she just automatically loses the house. And that guy turns out to be Jonathan Scott, who is Damon Scott's father, and he ends up being the villain of the series, because it turns out he was, like, tormenting Avery's mother, and he had, like, microphones and speakers and cameras and stuff in the walls of their house while they were growing up.
Oh, fun.
And he was like... Her mother was super paranoid, and basically nobody believed her mom, and her mom was just kind of like, everybody wrote her off as she's insane. And she died in a car accident, but they kind of implied that she was killed by Jonathan Scott.
Okay.
The book 2 ends with the house basically catching fire when they find out about all the wires and the cameras and stuff. There's a whole...
Dumb party sequence.
There's a dumb party sequence where everybody walks into the room to be like, and you were the reason that Avery's mom died, but you were like, it's weird.
And also there's a creepy uncle.
And there was the creepy uncle who wanted to marry her, and it was terrible.
Very good.
The whole thing's terrible. If you want to hear about the rest of this, just, like, go listen to those other episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. So that book ends with Gabriel Miller basically, like, locking her in his house. And he's like, I'm going to keep you safe here. I'm going to hire security. You can't leave this house. And she's just living there now. That's where she is. And
because the bad guy's, like, looking for her?
Yeah, the bad guy, Jonathan Scott, is trying to find her, and he wants to kill her.
Ooh.
For some reason. And it ends with, like, she orders this portrait of her mother. Like, it used to be hanging in the mansion that she lived in, and she had to sell it off because the artist was, like, a known name, and they really needed the cash.
Mm-hmm.
So now that Gabriel is like, you can have whatever you want, just I'll pay for it, don't worry about it. She buys this painting back, and this painting comes back, and it's actually, like, somebody has replaced the picture of her mother with a portrait of Avery.
Ooh.
And it was, like, a kind of cool, kind of creepy moment.
Yeah.
And then the book ends.
Okay.
So, this book picks up. Avery is living in Gabriel, in his house.
Mm-hmm.
She is, I guess, happy, even though she's kind of just, like, she's not allowed to leave for anything. They have a lot of sex. They play a lot of chess, because that's, like, a big theme. That's, like, a recurring theme through all these books.
Yeah, all the titles are chess,
and all the titles
right?
are, like, yeah, the pawn, the castle. This one's called The Castle. And there's a point where they play a chess game, and Avery is like, okay, well, if I win this chess game, you have to let me out of the house for the night. And we're going to go out for dinner, and it's going to be great. And Gabriel is like, if I win this game, you're never leaving the house again, basically. And she ends up winning the chess game.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good one to win, I guess. And they go out for dinner, and, like, the second they go out for dinner and they sit down at the table, they're having a conversation with some friends, like, she ducks down to get something, and just, like, a gunshot explodes in the seat behind her head. Like, immediately. And then, like, there's a couple more gunshots, and then they run out of the restaurant, and, like, that's, like, the last time she gets to go out for most of the book. And, like, Gabriel got shot, but he got shot in, like, it grazed his neck kind of way, so he wasn't actually hurt, but it was just enough to be, like, dramatic.
Yeah.
And they go to the den, which is Damon Scott's, like, criminal house, and he gets fixed up by this guy, whose name I cannot remember, but he's basically, like, a doctor who lost his license, and now he's just working for...
like a mob doctor.
Yeah, he's like a mob doctor, and now he's working for Damon Scott. And there's, like, a bunch of back and forth with him. Avery doesn't like him because he's a doctor who lost his license, even though he's, like, the only help they can get. And then there is a scene where Damon Scott, if you remember, Damon Scott is the guy who has 2 books that come after this one. Like,
the ones you're actually interested in,
the ones
right?
that I was actually interested in reading.
Change slightly.
We'll
discuss that later, I think.
Yeah. He basically comes, like, barging into the room with this, like, very tiny girl lady. Like, it's a lady. It's an adult woman. But she's described as, like, she's frail, she's unconscious, she's, like, hypothermic, basically. And they, like, put her in the bed, and he just, like, strips off completely and climbs into bed with her, because I guess that's what you do when somebody's hypothermic, is you get naked and cuddle with them. I don't know if that's...
I actually think that might be kind of a thing.
Is it?
I feel like I've seen that in a movie.
I know I've seen it, but is it, like, one of those movie things that's actually legit, or is it, like, strictly a movie thing and it doesn't actually work? Is the question.
No, I think it's real because the other person's body is still generating heat.
Right.
Where if you just cover them in blankets, and they're hypothermic, I don't think their body generates heat as fast.
Right. I just remember reading that scene, and then Avery, like, because I'd heard that before, and, like, my first instinct was, okay, that is something that I've seen or heard before somewhere. And Avery's response is like, what are you gonna do with her? And he's like, I'm gonna have sex with this unconscious, like, body. What do you think I'm gonna do with her? And I was just like, why?
Wait, he was being sarcastic, right?
He was being absolutely sarcastic.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, no, he was being absolutely sarcastic.
Because something you texted me makes me
I know. We'll get to it.
Oh, there's so much suspense. I hope if you're listening at home, you can feel how great this podcast is going to get later.
Oh, man. So basically, this lady her name is Penny, and this is actually going to be the heroine of Damon Scott's books coming up.
Okay.
So she's she was attacked by Jonathan Scott. So Damon Scott's dad. She was attacked sexually, and then she was, like, put at the bottom of a lake.
Oh.
Yeah. And then they saved her.
Oh, I guess we should say now this one has, like,
This one is tense.
There's a content warning on this one.
Yeah. I'm going to put it on the show notes before I put it up.
Yeah, but in case you're listening and you're very sensitive to, like, sexual abuse stuff,
yeah, there's going to be trigger warnings for sexual abuse, just straight up abuse, for torture, for pedophilia, for
this goes off the rails.
Non-consent when it comes to sex. It's gonna, oh my god, we'll get into it. Alright. So, Penny is basically sexually abused by Jonathan Scott and then put at the bottom of a lake where Damon Scott rescues her. And I don't know how he found her. I don't know how he got to her. I assume that's going to be what the other books are about. Which is why I am...
So let me get the relationship straight. Jonathan is Damon's father?
Yeah, Jonathan Scott is Damon Scott's father.
Okay.
Damon Scott is the head of the crime family that Gabriel Miller works for.
Okay, alright.
Yeah. So, and Jonathan Scott is the guy who basically, like, tortured Avery's mother.
Yeah.
By...
He's the mustache twirling...
He is the mustache twirling villain.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
So, this is why I'm hesitant to continue with Damon Scott's books.
Yeah.
Is because Penny did not have the best introduction. And with the way the rest of this book goes, I'm not sure those books are going to be fun
Awesome.
at all. So what ends up happening is Gabriel and Damon decide to basically lock both Avery and Penny in Gabriel's mansion. And Penny is like, she is kind of catatonic because trauma. So the only one who gets to talk to her, be near her, is Avery. And Avery's like feeding her, dressing her, giving her baths, stuff like that. And this continues for like weeks. And all the while, Avery is like, she'll wake up from nightmares and think she hears like somebody talking to her in the middle of the night. And like she's hearing voices, and she keeps hearing voices, and she doesn't want to tell anybody lest they think she's crazy.
Yeah.
But like a major plot point of the last book was how her mother was hearing voices in the walls, and she wasn't crazy because there were actual voices in the walls.
I was going to tell you.
Yeah.
Remind you at some point to talk about the voices in the walls.
Yeah, the voices in the walls will get worse, trust me. So
Danny just sent me a text this morning that says, remind me to talk about the stupid voices in the walls.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did not like that the whole point of the last book was my mom's not crazy because there were actually voices in the walls. Now I'm hearing voices in the walls, and I'm not going to tell any about it in case they think I'm crazy. Because, like, everybody was there for that whole plot point in the last book. Like, they understood what happened.
Yeah.
So why would she not just say something to anybody, basically? Man. So, they hang out with Penny for a while.
Yeah.
There's some sex happening because these are sexy books.
Oh, where are they
like
at on a
three,
scale?
Like
3 is I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Refer to previous episodes.
From 1 to 5, they are just a 3.
Okay.
Man. So they Gabriel Miller has, like, an epiphany of where, Jonathan Scott is hiding, and he just leaves. That's it.
Okay.
He's like, don't go anywhere. I'm gonna go solve this problem. And then he's gone for weeks.
Yeah.
Like, just, he doesn't come back. I think, like, 3 weeks pass or something, and she's like, I have no idea what's going on, and I don't know where he is, because he hasn't talked to me in 3 weeks. And she can't leave the house because her security is, like, watching her constantly. Oh, actually, there was a scene where she was reviewing security cameras after she told Gabriel eventually, like, this was the scene directly before he leaves. She tells him that she's hearing voices. And he's like, well, we'll check the security cameras that are all over the house, including in your bedroom. We'll watch them back.
Oh my
and
gosh.
she's like, oh, you've seen literally everything that can happen in my bedroom. And your bedroom. and everywhere we've had sex in this entire house has been on the security cameras.
Perfect.
And guess what? There are people on the security cameras all the time. Great. So they watch this video back of her sleeping to try to see if anybody else talks to her.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there actually is nobody talking to her when she's asleep. Like, they can hear her mumbling to herself, but there's nobody, like, talking back to her or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has his epiphany, and then he leaves for 3 weeks, and then she's like, I have to go save him because he's probably in trouble.
Yeah.
And she does, like, this whole escape attempt, and then Penny, who has been, like, basically catatonic for the last month, is like, she gets up and follows after her, and now she's talking too. And they, like, break out of the house. And they basically lead... First they go to the den, where they find out that Jonathan Scott has been there, and he's, like, messed it all up a whole bunch. And they find the doctor guy, he's been shot, but they call the ambulance or whatever, he's gonna be alright, don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Avery realizes, like, this was the whole plan. The whole plan was for me to basically break out of the castle where I'm being kept away.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go find Jonathan Scott, and then Jonathan Scott's gonna probably kill me, because that's, I assume, what he wants to do. Because she found out that he has, like, a $2 million bounty on her head. For some reason. We're not sure why. He just wants her dead. So, they end up going back to basically where he's located, which is, like, the poor side of town. And she's from the rich side of town. But don't worry, because Penny is from the poor side of town. So Penny is conveniently no longer catatonic and leading her down the poor side of town to where she can find Jonathan Scott.
Yeah.
And she does find him being... he is, like, hung from the ceiling, being tortured by Gabriel Miller.
Okay.
Like, with the fire pokers and everything. Like, just straight up being tortured.
Okay.
And...
how far are we into this book?
This is, like, the last 60 pages.
Oh, okay, so the first, like, solid half is just, like, they're stuck in the house?
Yeah, it's most of this book is they're stuck in the house, and then everything happens in the last, like, 60 pages.
Amazing.
This is, like, a 260-page book.
This is, what Catching Fire did that, too, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is when I started texting you, was when all of this started happening.
Okay.
So, she goes into this, like, it's like a rundown insane asylum or something. Like, I just... I was, at this point, I just couldn't believe what was happening, and I was, like, skimming over the pages instead of taking it all in, so some of these might be fuzzy details, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But, basically, Gabriel Miller found Jonathan Scott, and then, like, just tied him up and started torturing him.
Of course, as one does.
Because Jonathan Scott had a hit out on Avery, and the reason he didn't just kill Jonathan Scott was because that wouldn't cancel the hit.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's been torturing him this whole time because he wants the keyword to cancel the hit on Avery, I guess. And Avery shows up, and there's, like, a conversation between everybody. Penny's there, Gabriel Miller's there, Damon Scott's there, Jonathan Scott's there. Like, it's a whole group thing.
Mm-hmm.
Damon Scott leaves with Penny to go do something. I don't know. They just leave the room and are never mentioned again.
Mm-hmm.
Avery starts to, like, freak out because Jonathan Scott is, like, the villain and he's a bad guy or whatever, and she wants to talk to him, and Gabriel won't leave her alone to talk to him, so she, like, pretends to be really sick or something, and she's like, Gabriel, go get help or something. It's a really... It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but here we are.
Yeah.
And so he leaves her alone with Jonathan Scott. And basically, in a series of revelations, it turns out that Jonathan Scott was not only talking to Avery's mother through the wall in the house where they were growing up, he was also talking to Avery.
Okay.
And he was like, I'm not even gonna say what he was saying to her.
But this is where the pedophilia
aspect comes into this, absolutely. And then, I guess, she repressed all these memories of the things that he was saying to her.
Okay.
When she was a little girl in this house.
So, the voices she was hearing through the walls, that was like the the memories coming back?
Yeah,
Or?
so
Okay.
the voices that she heard in the beginning of this book were just, like, the repressed memories coming back to her. So she
Okay.
actually wasn't hearing any voices that time. Which, I guess, alright, fine.
Okay.
But yeah, so this whole torture scene is still ongoing. Jonathan Scott is just, like, dangling from the roof, and Avery has, like, a burning fire poker in her hand. And he's, like, telling her all these things, and she realizes that, yeah, A, he was the pedophile voice in the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and B, this is actually her biological father. For some reason,
Okay.
they don't. I don't know where that conclusion really came from. He said he was her biological father. He implied that he was her biological father, basically, and they just took that as fact. Which, I mean, you should probably double check that before you take it as truth. When the bad guy of the story is like, "Yeah, I'm your dad," but
I worked in Star Wars.
So that comes out. The dad thing comes out. Let me double check to see what else. If there was something else I was missing.
I'll check your text to see what else you told me.
Yeah. All right. So they tortured, and then the secrets come out, and then the okay. So, Avery is like, first off, like, Gabriel just kind of like materializes out of the shadows because he didn't bother to leave. He was actually just standing there watching the whole time, and nobody like noticed him, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows all the secrets now, and he's like, okay, well, I'll kill Jonathan Scott. And she's like, no, don't kill him. Which, she's like, don't kill him because he's actually my dad.
Okay.
And then their solution to the problem is to send him to Russia. Gabriel is gonna send him to Russia under a fake name to have him locked away in a mental asylum in Russia, where presumably nobody will ever find him. And then Jonathan Scott is like, okay, here's the code so that we cancel the hit on Avery, because my plan was never actually to kill Avery to begin with. I just wanted to talk to her.
I just wanted a free trip to Russia.
Basically. And then that's it. That's where that ends, is I guess he goes to Russia now. Like, that's the last you hear of him for the rest of the book.
Good riddance.
Okay, problem solved. And Avery immediately goes into a traumatic response coma.
As one does.
Yeah. She basically just shuts down,
Mm-hmm.
and she's in a coma, and they're just feeding her broth, and the timeline is fuzzy because I had stopped paying attention by now. But she's in the coma for days or weeks.
Okay.
I can't remember. She's in there for a while. And so the doctor, who is unlicensed now, but whatever, he's like taking care of her, and he's like, yeah, she's in a coma, so maybe she'll wake up, maybe she won't. I don't know. Why don't you try having sex with her? Maybe that'll knock her out of it.
Oh, I think I know why he lost his license.
Maybe that's why he lost his license. And then, by this point, I was like, I cannot believe they're gonna do this. They cannot be doing this.
It's like Sleeping Beauty with the R word.
Like...
Awful.
Oh. And then what Gabriel Miller does is he undresses himself. He picks her up, he takes her into the bath, and then he just starts molesting her. And then she wakes up from her coma.
Yeah.
Like magic. Like, just sex magic woke her up from this coma. And then, I guess, the scene ends with the sex magic, and she wakes up the next morning, and she finds a note being like, basically the note was like, okay, you're free now. I'm leaving. Here's the house. And she runs out of the house to catch him, like, as he's leaving, and she's like, don't leave, I love you. And he's like, oh, I love you too. And then everything's just happily ever after. And the book ends with her going to be a research assistant at the university where she, like, submitted a thesis on virginity and gender studies. I don't know. It ties into the book in some way, but by this point, I was just not paying attention anymore. Because the sex magic I'd shut it off. That was it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of questionable content in the end of this story.
And basically, so she goes to university to be a research assistant or something, and the book ends with Gabriel, like, buying a estate/hotel near the university where she's just gonna live.
Okay.
Like, this is her hotel now. She's gonna live here while she goes to school. And that's it. That's, like, just, I don't know why that had to be included into the book. It was just, like, it didn't make any sense. The whole last book in this series did not make any sense. I had problems with this series the whole way through, and the end just, like, shot right off the rails, and I'm still trying to get over it.
Well, I feel like the university and buying the big house for her near the university is, like,
that's
a weak attempt at a happy ending after...
It is. After what he did.
A nightmarish climax.
After that, yeah. Like, oh, boy. I'm still trying to get over it. Like,
So it's so weird, because, like, so the trope of, like, kissing somebody to wake them up from a sleep, you know, like a Snow White situation, or Sleeping Beauty, whatever.
Yeah.
It's, like, it's mildly creepy, but there's a bit of, like, romance
absolutely creepy.
But you know what I mean?
You
like,
don't give them a handy to wake them up.
Well, that's not what happens in Snow White.
That's not how it works.
No, but, like...
No, but in one of those books, they do, though. One of them, I think it might have been Snow White. She gets pregnant while she's still asleep.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't want to talk about weird Hans Christian Andersen and his weird Dutch fetishes. No, but I mean, like, so, like, the Disney-fied version.
The Disney-fied version is like a kiss.
It's kind of cute and innocent, but still a little creepy.
Yeah.
This is, like...
This is just full on.
Full on.
She is unconscious. She cannot consent. And you took her into the bath, and you gave her a handy. That is just... That's not okay. It's not okay at all. Oh my god.
Wait. I don't think Hans Christian Andersen actually wrote Snow White. Sorry for throwing you under the bus, sir. I just thought about it. I was like, wait, didn't he do Little Mermaid?
I have no idea. I remember reading Snow White for school at one point, and we were like, what? But...
Oh, it was the Grimm brothers. Brothers Grimm.
There you go. One of them.
Sorry, Mr. Hans
Christian Andersen. Yeah. I gave this book 2 stars.
Oh, I was going to ask that.
Yeah, I gave it 2 stars.
I was right about that freak being Danish, though. Sorry to any Danes listening to this.
I don't even...
Yeah,
I don't even know where to go with this. Like, I was just absolutely floored through the last 40% of this book.
It's weird because, okay, so when you're describing the first book,
yep.
I remember thinking, not that your description of it, but the book itself sounds kind of boring.
Yeah.
Because nothing's really happening.
No.
And it's like, you know, there's like some sketchy stuff, but it's just mostly just boring.
Yeah.
And the second book, I was like, this is kind of boring, but also
the story's
there's
starting to pick up.
Weird stuff, and the story's picking up. And this one's like full on weird.
It goes off the rails completely. Like I don't even like they're not. The pacing is weird. The first book is kind of boring for the most part. The second book is a little bit better, and then the third book is like the first 60% is really slow.
Yeah. And
then, 3 books worth of plot is crammed into the last little bit. And it's just weird, and it doesn't really work. And it's awkward, and it's like... So,
yeah, it's got the pacing of Hunger Games for sure.
Yeah,
it sounds
kind of, yeah.
Like the trilogy, not just the book.
Yeah. I love a good romance hero who is, a huge dick. Like, they're funny.
Yeah.
They're usually ridiculous. They're kind of... You roll your eyes when they're on screen because they're stupid.
Yeah.
But they need a female hero who can counter that.
Yeah.
Usually a strong one who will, kick them in the nuts when they've had enough kind of thing. But Avery is played as, a super naive, blushing virgin through all 3 books.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work because she basically is just she's just along for the ride the whole time.
Yeah, that's you can't have a protagonist like that.
You can't have a passive protagonist when the hero has like fundamental problems that need to be fixed.
Yeah.
By stuff like that. Like, for example, did I do the Lothair episode with you? Maybe. Regardless, like, Lothair is built up as the villain, and he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And then he finally gets his book, and you realize he's just a dumbass, and he's just trying his best.
Yeah.
And, yes, he's, like, got emotional problems, and, yeah, he's a dick, but the heroine to counter him, like, she doesn't put up with any of his garbage.
Mm-hmm.
She, like, beats him down whenever she can, and, like, there's a conflict in the book where he is terrible.
Yeah.
And she ends up, like, cutting off most of his head, because he's an immortal, right?
Okay.
It'll just grow back. And that's the point where he goes, like, maybe I'm a bad person. Maybe I've been the problem this whole time. And he changes himself as a character.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his character arc is he gets better from that point on. He realizes what he's been doing wrong. He figures out how to fix it, and he actually becomes a good person.
Okay.
That character arc doesn't happen in this book. Like, at all.
No.
Gabriel doesn't change in any way. He is a terrible person from the start, and he maintains being a terrible person all the way through the end. And you learn details about, like, his tragic backstory,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't make what he's doing to Avery okay.
Yeah.
Like, there's no... Yes, he had a sad backstory. That doesn't excuse him, like... He, like, emotionally just abuses her regularly. And something else that I do not like is he refers to her as my little virgin through all of these books. All of them. She loses her virginity in the first book, and he continues to call her my little virgin the entire time. And it's just... It puts so much emphasis on, like, her naivety that it just, like, it feels demeaning when he says it. It's supposed to be, like, a term of endearment.
Yeah.
But it just comes off as demeaning. And I don't like it.
All right, well, I guess we're kind of up for time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's...
So you definitely recommend this to everybody, is that what you're saying?
No, don't. If you want to try it for yourself, go ahead. I know some people like them.
Yeah.
But they weren't for me.
Okay.
I really wanted to read those books about Damon Scott. And after reading this, I don't know if it's going to be done correctly.
Yeah.
Maybe it will. Maybe I'll try the first one. Actually, yeah, the first one I flipped through earlier.
Yeah.
And the print is smaller, and there's like 200 more pages per book. So they're more of a commitment than these are, because these are 250-page books, and the print is large, and I read them in the morning, and then they're done. The Damon Scott books are going to be more of a commitment, so maybe I'll try it and see what happens. Maybe because they're going to be more story in the book, there'll be a better story for it.
Yeah, and who knows, if the protagonist is less passive, it could be better too.
I don't know, because the protagonist of the book is Penny, who spent this entire book just being comatose until she had to lead the heroine.
Up now.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she can be redeemed in the books. I'll try one eventually and find. I think I just need to take a break from these books for now.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'll come back to them later.
Okay, well, where can people find us?
People can find us on Facebook, LiteraryAF. You can find us on YouTube, LiteraryAF. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Podbean, and iTunes, LiteraryAF. You can email us at LiteraryAFPod@gmail.com. And you can find us on Twitter, LiteraryAFPod.
Oh, very good. And for next week, I'm going to be doing Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole.
Right.
So if you want to read that so you know what I'm talking about, that's go ahead.
You can do that.
It's like 400 pages, and it's not a super easy read, but it's not a hard read either.
Yeah.
Like it's more modern.
How did it feel reading a normal sized book for once?
Felt like reading half of a
Of a real book?
I almost said that, but no, this is a real book. Well, anyway, thanks for listening, and hey, you out there, you listening, don't forget, books must be for reading.
I don't even know what you're doing with that one.
Neither did I. Peace out.